Hi everyone, this is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode, and in this episode, I am going to sing the praises of the humble bridge camera. So, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I do a lot of stuff with photography. I do some professional photography, but I really have a joy of camera equipment and taking pictures, and my professional side just kind of evolved from my passion for photography. So I have a lot of different cameras. So I guess you'd say that when it comes to cameras, I'm pretty polyamorous. Doesn't make any difference if I'm using a compact camera or my cell phone or a very expensive DSLR. It's all good. And in fact, I'll often try to find the right camera for the right situation. And that happened about a week ago when two events happened in my life. The first event was my daughter's high school graduation. So she graduated with a class of around 700. So we were crammed into the high school's football stadium, and obviously quite a distance from our graduates. Well, what to do about that? I also, that same week, wanted to take some shots of my son. He plays ultimate frisbee, and that's a very large field, and you're kind of low to the ground when you're taking those pictures, and I needed something to take those pictures too. So I didn't want to carry around a big DSLR with a lot of extra lenses and things, and at the same time, I didn't really feel that a smaller camera had the capabilities that I wanted, especially as far as zoom is concerned. So I went with this camera. This is a Panasonic FZ1000. It's a kind of a hybrid camera. Looks very much like a DSLR. So here's a DSLR. You can see it's a little bit smaller, but basically the form factor is pretty much the same, right? But it offers an advantage, and the advantage is it has a lot of zoom ability in a fairly compact size. It's really an all-in-one solution. So I've always had this fascination for hybrid cameras, but frankly, in most cases, especially early on, all they really gave me was disappointment. So you'd buy these cameras. I remember, you go back a number of years, and they would promise these 20x, 30x, 40x, whatever zooms, and you thought that you were getting basically a DSLR for a reasonable price, and of course the picture quality wasn't good. And surprisingly, I don't think that problem was because it had a 1/2.3 sensor. I'm not saying in any way that a tiny sensor compares with a bigger sensor, but that wasn't the main issue with these cameras. Basically the main issue was they were taking the guts of just a simple compact camera, slapping on a big lens. So you had the same crappy focusing system. You usually had inferior glass, even if it was glass. You had bad image stabilization, which is like really critical when you're talking about going out to those extended 400 or 500 or 600 millimeter focal lengths. And you had a terrible aperture. So you were straining this little sensor. Anytime you'd go into low light, you were now straining it with not only the small size of the sensor, the camera, but you're also straining the camera with the fact that you had maybe a 5.6 or beyond, 6 point something aperture. That was the widest that you get at those telephoto lengths. So the cameras often promised a lot, but really gave very little, and they weren't very satisfying to use. That's until I discovered the Panasonic FZ. I think it was the 200. And this came out in 2000, I think in 10 or so. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe 2012, but a while back. What Panasonic did with that camera is they still kept that small 1/2.3 sensor, but they used a better quality one with less megapixels. So each of those little photo sites gathered just a little bit more light. And they put onto that camera a better focusing system, better image stabilization. The computers and the cameras had advanced to that point where you got a lot of extra special things and better noise reduction. And the lens, which was not a bad quality lens, it was an okay quality lens, had a maximum constant aperture of f2.8. So now you had this very wide aperture, you had less pixels on the sensor, you had better, everything was better, and that camera really was an awesome camera. Now I'm not saying it was a professional camera, but I'm saying it was a great camera for just about any purpose that you could have if you were just a casual family shooter, or even if you were more enthusiastic about your shooting, because you had ways that you could trick the camera to get better bokeh. And I took that camera to like school plays and things where it was very dark, and got very nice pictures from it because I had the controls, I had the f2.8 aperture. It was awesome. Now, of course, nowadays things have advanced. So recently, when I did those last two photo shoots, I used an FZ1000. This has a little bit slower lens, but still very fast. But what it has is a 1-inch sensor, so a massively large sensor compared to the smaller 1.2 over 1 over 2.3 sensor. So a much larger sensor, which is going to give you, of course, better dynamic range and better low light performance. And I really and truly feel that a camera of this caliber is going to be the perfect camera for a lot of family shooters. This does a good enough job with action shots for that soccer game. It works well enough in low light for that school play or orchestra performance. Plus, it has a nice big sensor, so you get a little bokeh if you wanted to play around with portraits. It's just a great all-around camera. It goes down at 25 millimeters, so you have a reasonably wide angle. I think you can get even attachments for it that you can maybe get a little bit wider with the lens. I think, anyways, I'm not too sure. And so I think these cameras really have kind of grown and gone from just being conceptually appealing to actually appealing. So I would suggest people, if you are in the market to get a camera and you're a family person and you want to have good quality pictures, maybe learn more about cameras, because these always have the manual controls too if you want to use them, you might want to consider one of the better quality hybrid cameras. Now, I would still avoid those cheap ones that basically have bad optics, bad sensor capabilities, bad focusing systems. You want to go with something, like that FZ200, which I think is still around. I think it's maybe the FZ300 now, or something even better like this FZ1000. And again, this is a later model camera, so there's better ones of this around, two more modern versions. Now, I think in the near future, I'm going to do a review on a super camera that's in this hybrid range, and that's the Sony RX10 version or Mark IV. So this is a very, very, very expensive hybrid camera, but it offers pretty amazing capability. So stay tuned for that. I might do that in the near future. But I just wanted to let people know that the hybrids have come of age. Don't go with the real cheap ones. Go with the better quality one. And if you're a family shooter that's doing mostly stuff for your family and the typical things that families do, that just might be the perfect camera for you. And it's going to take your photography so far beyond your cell phone. Take care, everyone. If you get some time, give my free podcast a listen. It's an audio podcast with myself and my wife. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist, so I'm a medical doctor, an MD. My wife is a PhD-level clinical psychologist, and we just talk about a variety of different things, some of them psychological, some of them not. It's just kind of a fun thing to listen to. I also have a personal writing blog called drmikekuna.com, drmikekuna.com. This is a blog where I'm trying to get better with my writing skills and really get more revealing with myself as a person. I really put myself out there, so there's a lot of personal information out there. I'm also doing a project on that blog where I'm writing people's stories. This is my eventual goal. I want to write stories about typical people that have had things happen to them that have changed the course of their lives, and include photography. So I've done my first one on a 24-year-old girl who suffers from a skin condition. I think it's interesting. So if you want to look at drmikekuna.com, drmikekuna.com, you can find it there. But if you know of someone who has a story that needs to be told, go to that website and maybe we'll pick you or someone you know and do a story on you. And my eventual goal is to turn some of those stories into a book if that's meant to be. So take care, have a great day, and bye-bye.